Hey guys, Stealth here and welcome back to more Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. Today we are building battleships on a budget, as requested by Mudman, one of my naval architects. After Germany's win in the Great Weltkrieg, the nation rejoiced. The war to end all wars was finally over. 6 grueling years of slaughter ended in the annexation of Belgium and Poland. However, one problem still remained. Money. The economy was in tatters after 6 years of total war. To combat rising poverty, severe military cuts have been enacted, affecting our naval budget. To counter the rise of England's navy, our War Department has authorized 2 battleships to be laid down to defend the fatherland. However, due to budget cuts, guns of any caliber over 14-inch were deemed as too cost-inefficient to authorize for use. Crew accommodations, expensive ammo storage, and training were also seen as too expensive to authorize. The ship must have cramped crew quarters, novice crew, less ammunition, and whatever else you think a navy might have to skimp on during cost-saving measures. In October the 2nd, 1939, Great Britain, having reached a state of total rearmament, declares war on Germany. October 10th, 1939, 2 German battleships are stationed in harbour near Calais, behind a dense fighter and anti-air network, out of range of the RAF. October 27th, 1939. Forces gather in southern England, preparing to cross the Channel. And in November 10th, 1939, 8:51 a.m., Force B departs from Scapa Flow, intent on hunting down and destroying the 2 German battleships to prevent an invasion force from crossing the Channel to Calais. So, in essence, my 2 battleships are under attack from the British. They are trying to get rid of my German battleships because they want to try and do an invasion. And I have to build battleships which are not able to have any guns of 13 inches or greater. Or rather, I'm limited to 13 inches. No, sorry, any caliber over 14 inches is considered a bit excessive. Over 14 inches. I'm fighting a battleship from the British, 2 battlecruisers and 2 heavy cruisers. I'm going to try and make this thing as cheap as possible. If we have cost-saving measures, we're going to go for the smallest battleship hull that's available. We're going to go for a standard amount of bulkheads. We won't be getting a lot of range. We probably won't be getting a lot of speed either, so let's set this to 25. Engine cost is only going to go up dramatically from here, so we're going to be using turbines. Natural boilers, everything else is more expensive. Funnels are going to go up. Yes, you might offset that by having more funnel capacity relative to funnel cost, but still, it is a consideration. Auxiliary engines, I'm going to give 1 auxiliary petrol engine because I imagine that even though we're trying to save cost, it is still a warship, and you would ideally want that warship to survive a little longer, otherwise your entire investment into the ship is going to go to waste. I'm going to have to push this thing forward. Actually, I automatically grab Modern Tower 2, but Modern Tower 1 is cheaper. 7 million. That means I'm going to get Modern Secondary Tower 1, 2.7 million, 3.2, 3.5, and 4.2. This is going to affect my accuracy as well. Crew quarters cramped. Training, who needs training anyway? This is fine. I will go for Group 4. Yes, it's going to make the ship more expensive. But again, it is a warship. It has to survive somehow. The Oberfunnel 1, giving me an engine efficiency of 69%, which is nice. We're going to get an all-or-nothing armor scheme and some medium anti-flooding, light anti-torpedo protection. Dual hulls are expensive and not what we're going to use. 14 inchers. ABXY. Something like this. I might not even use the entirety of my displacement. Also, I'm going to have to adjust the secondary tower a bit more. Push you back slightly. There we go. Gonna pull this thing back. And then pull this thing back towards the main tower. Try to reduce roll as much as possible. 1%. Push you forward. 0.4. Okay, so this means that I'm going to have to use a reduced complement of ammo. which means I'll probably not even be able to sink the enemy because I only have 130 shells per gun. So that's per turret. We're going to go for super heavy shells. We're going to try and get the most out of these shells. Let's see. Shell cost 350%. Shell cost 450%. No, I wouldn't be able to afford that. Propellant. Shell cost 300, 350, 500, and 700. Okay, we're stuck to TNT too. Amatol explosives. Upgrades to turrets. Upgrades to loading. Nope, I don't have the funds for that. Radar. Yeah, I'm gonna go with radar. I still want to be able to hit something. Especially considering that I really don't have the ammo to spare. 15-inch armor belt. 6.5 aft belt. Mid-deck, 6.5 is fine. 3-inch on the superstructure. Let's say 18 inches on the conning tower. And 3 inches of fore and aft deck armor. 17.5 inches of armor for the 14 inchers. Secondaries. Yeah, but they'd probably be more of an afterthought considering how expensive they are. Can go one there. And can we get 5s to go up here? Nope, 4s then. 4 there, and 4 there. There, that's my ship. It still came out to 86 million. It's still pretty expensive. Regardless, we're gonna have to take this thing up against a couple of British warships. Yes, I know I have a lot of displacement spare, but, well, we're under cost-saving measures. So I'm going to have to try and make the Markgraf design work, despite the fact that I could arguably put a lot more armor, protection on it, defensive systems, better reload, better turret rotation, everything. But no, we're just going to have to go with her as she is. I hope that the AI is merciful, that their battleship and battlecruisers aren't too lethal. Because I am really not that well prepared for that. What do we got? British warships spotted. Packing 16 19-inch guns. Good lord, the British are not saving on ammo and guns. And these boys are carrying 12 17-inch guns. I'm supposed to defeat that with 14 inchers. I can fire out to 24 clicks. Okay. I think saving money on a warship is a terrible idea. Because, well, if you save money on it, you save your... You might be able to save some money. Let's put it that way. You might be able to save some money, okay. But, there we go. A 19-inch shell immediately penned the mid-deck. I'm happy it didn't cause any more damage than it did, but that's 309 damage. I think battleships on a budget, or any warships on a budget, are a terrible idea. Sure, you can try to build a battleship that's going to be as cost effective as possible. I can get behind that. Where you have a ship, for example, that's capable of effectively, cheaply raiding enemy convoys. Maybe a destroyer build that's not too expensive. Something like that I can get behind. A battleship? Oof. What are these heavy cruisers packing? Probably nothing too lethal. But I was worried about the torpedo launchers, and I have reason to be. I got launchers there and there. Interesting use of superstructure. Main tower. Large gap here between the secondary tower and the main tower. A barbette. Torpedo launchers. And then we get some sort of weird gun in the middle of the... I don't know, that's not the quarterdeck. The middle of the ship. Just behind the secondary tower. Interesting build. Now, with my ships being as poorly trained as they are, and lacking quite a lot of critical systems, I am going to have to close the distance. Because my accuracy is about 1%. If that. And that's the crew first, the Markgraf. Markgraf is at 2%. But still, we're basically operating this ship with cadets. Because we had no money to train them. And I'm really concerned that the British are not going to be in the same condition. Normally it seems like the AI is sort of trying to match what you build. So that means that maybe they skimped on something else. Maybe they didn't go with a trained crew, but... or maybe they did go with a trained crew, but at the expense of something else. Maybe they don't have a lot of bulkheads, for example. I'm gonna have to change direction a little bit in order to throw off potential torpedoes, because I'll not see any torpedoes before they hit my ship, seeing as I do not have hydro. Oh, this is not going well. We're getting some partial pens, but my lead battleship is already down to 80% structural integrity, and we haven't even begun to disassemble their main battleship. This is just a battle cruiser, which usually doesn't have that much protection to begin with. Now the objective here is to rout the enemy, but I don't really see that happening. One, the AI doesn't rout, they don't retreat, unless you don't want them to, in which case they do on certain missions. But it's not like the AI is suddenly going to change direction and head away from you. Okay, we almost got this BC identified. Palace. The Palace has not an insignificant amount of armor. She's pretty quick. The ship costs 172 million, as opposed to my 86 million. So the Palace, as one battlecruiser, costs as much as both of my battleships combined. It's crewed by veterans, and it has a ton of crew. Is this spacious quarters? Yeah, spacious quarters. We're getting advanced radio, Generation 2 radar, stereoscopic 3. We're looking at a Citadel 5 light shells, reduced ammo for shells and torps. Okay. Maybe I can flood her out. Because I can pen that ship. That's good. I can pen that ship. The heavy cruisers Crescent and Endymion are capable of firing torpedoes at me at 9 kilometers. Which is what we are at. And I am heading towards them. Let's see if I can eliminate the heavy cruisers first. Before they decide to start torpedoing my ships. Because I am very much uninterested in trying to get, well, dodges on 21-inch 62.5 knot torpedoes. That's not a good idea. And we're just going to have to continue to close the distance to the Palace. Battleship, almost fully ID'd. Come on, buddy. There we go. Immediately we knocked out their conning tower. That's a good first shot. Or first hit. Many bulkheads, cramped quarters, fast ships. Not terribly well armored. And especially against a 14-incher, you're going to run into trouble. Oh, crap. Whereas with the Palace, I was looking at their deck armor. I'm now looking at belt armor. That's problematic, because the belt armor is more difficult to pen. The mid belt's 8.6, forebelt 2.5, aft belt 1.6. But for example, the foredeck was only 0.1 inch, and the aft deck had no armor. Still no torps. We're still trying to hit the Crescent, but so far I'm just not getting anything. Neither Endymion nor Crescent have launched their torpedoes yet. Hard to port. Oh, that was bad. That was a 19-inch shell right through the forebelt. Braugh is trying to help, but these cadets just cannot shoot straight. Which I understand, because they're cadets. They're not really that well trained. Torpedoes in the water. Any chance I can eliminate the battleship? Formidable. 89,000 tons. 415 million for a ship. Heavily armored citadel as well. How am I going to win this? How am I going to win this? Torpedoes in the water. Many, many, many. Many, many, many. This is a battleship. It doesn't do dodging nearly as well as my heavy cruisers did from a few vids ago. Oh, ow. They have salvoed or cycled their other torpedo launcher. Starboard launcher already launched. That's why the Crescent's out of torps. Come on. Give me some high explosive shells. Yeah, there's the other torpedo salvo. Oh, golly, they just launched it in 2 salvos. If I can squeeze through this gap and then there, that'd be great, but the Kurfürst is already partially flooded. Turn, buddy. Yeah, hit on the stern. This is going swimmingly, isn't it? Absolutely stellar. This is why you do not save money when you're building a battleship. It just doesn't work. Especially not when the enemy has a 4-year tech advantage. And on top of that, it has a numerical advantage. As well as huge guns. 17 inchers and 19 inchers. And the German Admiralty said, well, you know what? Anything beyond 14 inch is not cost effective. I'll show you cost effective. That. This too. This is cost effective. Because arguably, the Formidable over here has been firing not that many shells. Not that many of these 19-inch shells. It has done 2,000 damage, which is about half, or a little under half, of what the entirety of the enemy fleet has done. And by the looks of it, she'll not take any damage. So I would very much like to change the opinion of the German Admiralty that maybe going for a cheap battleship is not a great plan. Because all that they have done is build 2 ships worth about 87 million a pop. And at the end of the road, they'll not have any of these battleships survive. So austerity measures for the Navy, terrible idea. Corners will be cut, crews will not be trained, ships will be lost very quickly. This battle has been going on for a little over a half hour. I've already lost one of my ships, and at the moment I have about half a heavy cruiser sunk. Not more than that. It's not even possible for me to change tactics, I think. Because if I try to stay at range, I'll not be able to close the distance after these guys have decided to empty their magazines on me. And staying at range means that I don't have the range to fire at them at 24.5 kilometers, but they, with their 31 kilometer range, and for the battle cruisers 30-ish, 27.9, they'll just pick me apart. And if it's not them, then it's the heavy cruiser doing it, the Endymion. So building cheap battleships? No. Let's not. Markov is getting just demolished. Absolutely picked clean. She is blocking quite a bit, which is impressive considering her somewhat reduced level of armor when it comes to a battleship. Crescent is hurting bad. serious damage to the ship. But no kill. Go for some armor-piercing shells. Although at this angle... Oh, shit. Here come the torps. No! Markgraf doesn't have protection, much like her sister ship. There's a torpedo hit. Come on. Come on. At this angle, I'm not firing AP. Yeah, The entirety of the bow has been destroyed. The ship is slowly flooding. But I think I'll be dead before I'm able to complete that kill. And the only capital ship that took damage was the Palace. 5%. That's it. 5% damage. And there goes the buoyancy. Markgraf is done. Yep. This is why you do not build battleships on a budget. You're gonna get them home. Or, well, you're not gonna get them home in a body bag. You're gonna not get them home at all. So, interesting scenario. Unfortunately, utterly undoable. Hope you guys enjoyed the battle nonetheless. Let me know what sort of battleship you would build for this particular encounter. I got it to about 86.9 million, I think. Let's say 87 million. What other sort of ship would you build? Considering that you have the constrictions of guns over 14 inches are deemed as too cost inefficient. Right. And you have crew accommodations, expensive ammo storages, and training as superfluous. You cannot afford those. Let me know down below in the comments what sort of ship would you build. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you soon for more.